Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and recently we got a pretty big patch for Armored Core 6 that I wanted to go over with you guys. Lots of balance changes, adjustments to some of the bosses, but surprisingly no nerfs to any of the weapons, including the Zimmermans, the needles, and a bunch of other things that have been pretty dominant since the game has launched. I am quite surprised by that. I thought some things would be toned down at the very least, but maybe they learned from Blizzard and Diablo 4 with the backlash to that initial patch that they had, where everyone pretty much quit the game because of how many nerfs there were. So instead they decided to start off with just a bunch of buffs. And I don't disagree with that. I think there's a lot of these weapons needed buffs in order to compete at the top level. But even with some of the updates, I don't know if people are going to move away from the strongest things if they are strictly min-maxing. And that's why I'm hot and cold about this patch. I think having these other weapons be more viable is absolutely necessary, and I'm very happy about that. But I think that slight nerfs were definitely needed in order to level the playing field and not be completely overwhelmed by power creep. So I think the game as a whole is going to be a bit easier now. I made a whole video on talking about the difficulty level of the game, so definitely check that out. But overall, I'm excited about this. I think it's good changes for the most part, so let's jump into them. So the Rensetsu RF increased attack power, fire rate, and decreased reload time. The Curtis increased attack power, decreased reload time. The Turner increased attack power, projectile speed, decreased reload time. You kind of see where this is going. The Scudder increased attack power, projectile speed, decreased reload time. Rensetsu AR increased attack power, projectile speed, decreased reload time. The Ludlow increased attack power, total rounds, projectile speed, decreased recoil and reload time. Chang Chen increased attack power, total rounds, projectile speed, decreased reload time. And the Etsujin increased attack power, total rounds, projectile speed, decreased reload time. All of that is going to mean these weapons should all perform much better than they have in the past, and I'm very excited about this. I can't wait to try out new builds and see what works. Alongside this, they also adjusted certain attacks performed by the enemy units for Baltius, the Sea Spider, and Cell 240. All of these bosses have been nerfed. They're going to be a bit easier now, which has me conflicted. I think with the buffs to all the weapons and no nerfs, I don't think they necessarily needed to tone down these bosses for me personally. But I do understand why they've done it. A lot of people have complained about Baltius specifically because of how challenging it is. It is pretty much a gatekeeper boss for the game, and I'm not surprised that they did tone it down a bit. We'll see how this actually plays out and if it's a big enough change to warrant people jumping back in if they put the game down. So I'd be curious to see how that works out. They have a bunch of bug fixes on here, like preventing certain weapons from dealing damage to the boss of a certain mission, unable to detect players for certain bosses. It's just some things that I think allowed for some cheeses, but also blocked progression, which I think having these bug fixes is absolutely necessary, and I'm glad that they're working on that as well, on top of the balance changes as also. So jumping into the game, I think I'm most excited to really make some new builds and see if we can't try some new things out with some of these recently buffed weapons. I think a lot of them were just not very good previously compared to those at the top end. And the other thing you got to remember is this game does have PvP, and so because of that, there are some balance changes that are necessary in order to make PvP more viable as well, because you don't want one or two things dominating the PvP scene, because then it does get boring very, very fast. They also talked about how there are a lot more changes on the way, because they are going to continuously update this game, including PvP and PvE, which I think is good. I'm excited to see what the future holds for Armored Core 6, because honestly, this game, the core of it, see what I did there, has a lot of potential. There's a lot of things to be excited about in the future of this game. If you have not played it, I actually highly recommend this game. I think it's very good, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on it because of so many other great games out there right now. But knowing that there's future PvP updates coming is very nice. I do think we'll see eventually some nerfs to some of the outliers that are just insanely strong. I do wonder if we will get a DLC for Fires of Rubicon at all. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen right away, or it might not happen at all, but I'm just glad that we have Armored Core in this. So one of the things that I personally want to see for PvP, by the way, is just a no weapons mode. I've seen a lot of people do strictly melee just for fun in Armored Core PvP, and I really want to see that. No weapons at all, just strictly fists in Armored Core 6 PvP. I think that would be hilarious. So anyway, that's gonna do it for me for this video. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Armored Core 6 content from me in the future. Apologies if my voice is a little off. I'm recovering from COVID still. My name is JoPa. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.